Alright, let's be less enthusiastic this time. Hello, and welcome to the PAYDAY Crimecast. This is episode 3, and we're going to be talking about the Bomb upcoming DLC in this show today. We're also going to be talking about the Hotline Miami 2 tie-in with PAYDAY 2. We're going to get into detail with that little piece of leaked content. And finally, we're also going to be talking about some recent mods that are coming out or have already come out. Some of them have caused a bit of controversy. First, we're going to talk about the PAYDAY 2 Blood Dragon mod. Right now, there's still a countdown going on, but we're going to kind of speculate on what we're going to talk about or what's going to come with it in the mod. We're also going to talk about the PAYDAY the Heist HUD in PAYDAY 2 mod. And of course, we're going to talk about the controversial GoonMod. But first up, we're going to talk about the biggest piece of news. It's the Bomb DLC. And Lockie, we've got Lockie and Remy, of course, on the show today, our regular hosts, and of course me, Edward. So, like I said, we're going to talk about the Bomb. What have we got coming with this upcoming DLC?
Well, new character, looking pretty cool, played by a real-life bank robber, which is kind of fits the bill.
Well, he's not a bank robber anymore. Apparently,
1991, I think.
An ex-con.
Robbed a bank.
You prefer?
Yeah, he...
And his sentence was kind of light, wasn't it? He only got about 4 years.
Yeah,
4-year
for a
sentence.
bank robbery? Yeah.
Well, was he actually in the bank robbery? From what I read, apparently he was just planning it, so he was the mastermind of the heist.
Oh, that I didn't know.
Yeah, he was in...
Bane.
He was in Age of Tomorrow, apparently.
With Tom Cruise. I'm sure they got along very well.
I can't think of where he was in that movie, but yeah. Like, on IMDb.
Was he, like, more fit in the movie? Maybe that's why he blended in so well.
I'm not sure who he was playing in the movie, so... Yeah. But yeah, he was in that. He hasn't had that much of a filmography.
Well, you know, you go into crime and then that's kind of your stepping stone for getting into the acting industry.
And now he's acting about crime.
Our advice for...
It's come full circle.
Yeah.
Our advice for acting gets better every week. First it was do meth and now it's rob banks.
Just try acting.
Yeah.
That's some good advice, yeah.
I think, you know, with the new heister, I was thinking Overkill just seems to have their mind set on adding new heisters, but really, what is their significance?
There isn't any. I feel like they have just like a major thing, like, you know what? We need to add new stuff. Here, have a heister, you get a heister, everyone gets a heister, but
anyone who pays.
There's not actually any depth to them. It's all like, alright, well, one of the original crew met them in a previous life. And somehow he's in a tough spot and they need a crew. And alright, cool, come join the PAYDAY gang.
It's a very superficial background that they usually come up with, and it's very disappointing in comparison because even with the plethora of characters that we have now, there's really not much character development to be seen like we did in the previous game. You know, PAYDAY the Heist, you actually hear the guys talking to each other and laughing.
Oh, like,
yeah.
Hawks Tonight and all that. Like, I haven't played that much of PAYDAY 1, but even I know...
They had a lot of dialogue between each other, yeah.
Ah, right, yeah.
It felt more like a tight-knit, close crime crew. Whereas this, it just kind of feels like they were put together for a job, just like by their masterminds. They were just
like,
kind of like stuck together.
I think they could have done that with the original 4, but then once you start adding in Wick, Clover, Hoxton...
Well, Wick's voice lines were just sad. Yeah.
Well,
his page lines are bad. Yeah.
They're very generic.
It's like, oh, there's nothing wrong here. And then there's like Chains who goes, I just had a minor I had a major spider incident. I'm just coming down now with a blunt. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the pager lines, it seems like it's the only opportunity for the characters to demonstrate their personality, judging by the fact that there's really no scripted lines between each of the heisters and so on. So I personally, I'm just really disappointed that Overkill decides to add new heisters without really developing the existing characters.
Because I kind of feel like they're adding new heisters just for the sake of it.
They kind of did like the interaction thing in PAYDAY 1 with like Diamond Heist. You could have, you know, Dallas or Hoxton going, you know...
Yeah, they would say the intro to the heist. They'd be like, oh, you know, Match likes set up her watches. Mark, oh, great. You know, it was really nice to hear all of their voices, and, you know, they were actually talking to each other to plan the upcoming job.
But now, I think it would just be hard to do that with, like, the amount of combinations you could have.
Fair enough, but I mean, I don't even know if they can really have a script where... you know, it would acknowledge the other robbers in the game. I mean, I can understand if it was a map trigger, like, oh, we just opened the vault, maybe one of the characters would say something, and if they said this line, another character would respond with their own line. But because we have such free-form, semi-sandbox missions, it's hard to script for events like that. But, I mean, even for, like, healing up, maybe when you put down a med pack, the game could detect who has the lowest health, and, you know, Clover would say, like, oi, Dallas, heal up, you're hurt, or something like that. I know it'd be a lot of work, but I'd rather them work on that rather than adding in a new heister who will add nothing to the game. I don't even know what demographic they're catering to.
Just
like, I want to play as fat, you know, fat Slavic Dallas, I guess.
Well, all they're doing now, I feel like they're just adding them for the sake of adding them. Like, there's really no reason to.
Well, then, if there's no reason to add it, I think they shouldn't add it. Unless it's going to be free, that being said.
Well, does the knockout thing count as free content, or...?
That's free content. I mean,
so
therefore it's hard to complain about it.
Yeah.
Like, not to say that they shouldn't add it, but I mean, if you're going to pay for it, is what I'm getting at. Like, if you're going to pay for it, make sure it adds something.
I'm
to
hoping
the game.
if you have to pay for it, it's not a separate thing like with Clover, because that was just... Like, it should have been... Like...
One pack, agreed.
Yeah, or make it so you get two of them, like, both of them for 10, because it's like 12 for two of them.
Well, they don't actually have their official bomb mini website out yet, so we're not exactly sure if everything's going to be combined, right?
That'll be in the next day or so.
Based on the previous release, you know, with Clover and the Diamond, it really does seem like they would have to charge a separate amount for this job. Isn't that right? Would they ever change that model? Would they release this heist pack and have Dragan included in the pack?
Well, it worked
Whereas
before, so they'll do it again.
No matter how many people bitch about it, they're still going to buy it if it's a separate pack, so there's no reason for them to do anything different.
At the very least, Clover, her being separate kind of makes sense to me. Like, she is something new. She's the very first female heister in the entire game series.
But that also got some
charge money for her is okay.
Wouldn't it be the opposite? Like, having to charge money for a female heister?
I understand that being a problem for maybe a female player who wants to play as someone they can
it's almost a sexist paywall, yeah.
But I can understand the business aspect to it, and possibly their reasoning behind it is that, you know, we put a lot of money into getting a new actress, you know, we modeled the character, etc. She does add something more to the game, just as an entirely new character. But with Dragan, despite him being played by a real-life bank robber and him being able to provide some semblance of authenticity to the game, I just don't see another male character as adding anything to the game that is worth paying money for. And of course, you know, people could fire back saying that, well, you can just not pay money for it. But that's, you know, that's just my opinion. That's what I think.
Yeah, when are they taking John Wick out, or are they just leaving him in?
Well, I mean, with Lion Studios, I can't see them removing him. He's like a walking ad.
There's no reason to remove him. He's staying.
Yeah, or they should kind of rename him Wick. It just looks really out of place. It's like, you know, Dragan, Dallas, Chains. And
well, I mean, you can with scripts.
So just make him Wick. Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's the problem with, you know, sort of a paid ad, is that you need to put the full name. People might not make that connection between Wick and John Wick if you just called him Wick.
Well, all the voice lines in the game is, "Hey, Wick, come here. Yo, Wick, on me." So there's absolutely nothing different. It's just in the menu icon and floating above his head is just more letters. I don't see why we need that.
Well, I suppose just doing those lines saying, "Hey, John Wick, come here," would sound really, really shoehorned in.
Yeah.
It doesn't really flow. But yes, I can't imagine them changing his name despite how out of place it seems.
Yeah.
But yes, back to Dragan. Dragan. He is Slavic, from what I understand. He's from one of the Eastern European countries.
Yeah, I think so. Is he not? Oh yeah, okay.
Hmm?
What nationality is he supposed to be? Like,
I don't know. I heard.
Where was
Croats.
the...
Oh,
where was-
Croatian.
Yeah, Croatian.
That's where Lion Game Lion is from.
Well, that would make a lot of sense then.
It
That
would.
they would add, that they would add, a perfectly fitting ethnic character to the game.
Just like Wolf with Overkill.
Well, he is a new
Swedish.
heister, and as at least as I said, he's not really anything interesting. But on the other hand, we do have the new contractor, the Butcher, who is female, as we had guessed. I suppose
I
some
feel
of
like
us
it's the
had
same
guessed.
thing with Clover, though. It's just the only thing new and revolutionary about it is
Is
she's female. Yeah. Although she'll have her own personality, I expect. Like, from what I gathered in the trailer, she was reserved. She didn't, not trusting. She doesn't have a lot of contacts, I guess, in the underworld, because she definitely had no idea what was going on. But,
Well, maybe she was just a really good actor. That's the sort of vibe I got from her, is that she can be...
That's
underneath
true.
That shell is that she's a very succinct, brutal person, but on the outside she looks like a harmless lady.
That's true. I mean, she's pretty crafty, too, the way she lured him into the closet and then shanked him. So...
I had suspected that to be the case, but yes, I really did kind of get a very gentle vibe from just the way she looked. Like, you wouldn't suspect that, and that is one of the aspects that makes her interesting, kind of like the dentist, is that he does have, like, a day job, and just behind the scenes, like any good criminal, like, they would do their stuff in a more clandestine way.
Although with the dentist, it's a little more open. I mean, you can see the way he talks, he's very formal, he's almost ruthless, you can hear it in his tone. So, I mean, he has a cover. His personality's not a cover, but he has an airtight alibi.
Yeah, well,
with
exactly.
her,
That's
I
what I
feel
mean,
like
airtight alibi, just like his
I was at
character.
my
in
clinic.
that.
I was at
In
my
Breaking
clinic.
Bad, yeah. Whereas this lady, I feel like she does have the whole appears harmless, but is actually very much not.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering what it was about, like, when you first see her.
Yeah.
Just like, what?
Yeah, I guess throughout
The entire
trailer,
trailer
kind of-
was irrelevant up until the last, 10 seconds.
It's true.
I'm sending you to DC, and that's the end.
I can appreciate the subtlety to that, as we mentioned about her personality. Like, she's not the bombastic, mob boss like Vlad or even Hector, where they're
She's
very...
not as flamboyant as them. Yeah.
I know, and that's almost cartoony. Like, it's a very cartoony sort of background to be such a crazy bastard all the time. I do like the more reserved feeling that they went with the live action.
Yeah.
Well, should I say the new live action videos?
Yeah.
We'll see.
And I like the more mature approach to it. I wonder how much of that trailer was really, the work of Lion Game Lion or whatever the film studio was.
I don't know.
Because they are a film studio, and apparently that the lady who played the lady, she's actually quite a big quite a big actress.
From Lost or something?
I think she was in Lost, and some people were saying she's from Babylon 5.
Oh,
I
wow.
probably got the name wrong, but apparently she was in those. I'm not sure what kind of character she played in those, though.
Something sci-fi.
Well, they're both sort of sci-fi, aren't they?
Sort of.
Isn't Lost sci-fi? I don't know.
I guess
I'd say
actually,
it's
yeah, Lost is like time travel, timey-limey, wibbly-wobbly shit. So I guess, yeah.
Despite what the promo trailers would tell you.
Yeah, it doesn't look it.
This is Survivor, the drama.
Guys, we're getting off topic.
This is true. Okay. Well, what happened in the trailer? I mean, they did a lot of driving. They eventually made their way to the...
With some nice music.
the butcher's building, although
Yep.
they don't know she's the butcher. And then I think
Well, they know she's a butcher. I mean...
She's not the butcher,
Actually,
she's a butcher.
I didn't watch it. I only watched it once, but from what I got from the trailers, that they suspected that she's obviously involved with some shady dealings. But from what I understood, it was they suspected that she was just dealing with like running guns, I guess, because she did have a lot of guns in the cold storage room
with some pigs as well as a cover.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would help actually. Yeah.
Well, I feel like most of them, if you noticed, if you looked closely, a lot of them were cut down the middle and were nearly hollowed out. So I expect that's how she runs the gun.
That was how she was going to smuggle that.
I wonder if Overkill's going to shoehorn like their relationship in with Gage. Like Gage and the Butcher were good friends back in the war.
I honestly would kind of expect them to do that. Either Gage or Bane, to be honest.
I'd rather they just like Bane. It'd be more believable if Bane was just seeking out more associates and he just found someone who would work. Like not like there's some previously unstated.
What, he just like put an ad out on Kijiji and
hey, there's CrimeNet. They put a classified section in CrimeNet and they looked for the appropriate people who fit the bill.
Yeah.
But yes, even from the little image at the end of the bomb trailer, there were frag grenades inside, a profile picture of a pig. So yes, we suspect that the Butcher runs guns. Although the name doesn't really fit, I suppose. I was expecting someone who's very brutal.
I was expecting an assassin, almost.
That actually makes a lot of sense as well.
I was sort of expecting like a giant guy that was like that was very
imposing.
Brutish. Yeah, very brutish sort of.
Yeah, I was expecting another very enthusiastic contractor who just openly, kills everyone.
Yeah.
Well,
but we'll have to see how the heist goes, because based on what we know about the heist, we're just going to be trying to steal weapons and or bombs. The bomb.
And it'll be in Washington.
Yeah, again.
I'd laugh pretty hard if the bomb was just a daytime version of Shadow Raid.
I'd laugh, but I also wouldn't be surprised.
I would also cry quite a bit.
Yeah.
I know I talked to you guys about this before, but I'm really disappointed that everything's set in Washington. Like, where would the heist even take place? Okay, in Washington, D.C., but what iconic location,
Canada,
if any?
Armory, Canada, in...
referring to the bomb heist itself, where would they even set it? I'm not that familiar with
some kind of armory?
Washington, but I've played Fallout 3, and that's about the extent of what I know about Washington, D.C.
Agreed, yeah.
So the mall... we've already had a heist there. Is there actually a weapons manufacturing facility? Are we going to be stealing it from...
We obviously have to sneak into the Pentagon.
Station.
Obviously.
Some kind of...
that would be a really neat thing, but I'm pretty sure it's mostly an office complex.
That's what they want us to think. Full of Secret Service people. Or, spies or whatever.
Well, we infiltrated... Well, I used the word infiltrated very lightly. We infiltrated the FBI headquarters in Washington, so I guess one of the last places would be the Pentagon. That would be a very interesting thing.
That's Although
I'd be concerned for everyone working there if there was actually a bomb there.
That's one heist. It's to kill the FBI boss who has information on you. As the November 2016 heist.
That would be quite interesting. Although it seems kind of... I've been getting the feeling that a lot of the heists that the guys are pulling off in the game are kind of out of character. Like, someone would actually send the Payday crew out to just specifically kill someone rather than what their original intention was, which is to just steal for their own monetary gain.
Well, if that person had some kind of information on them. Yeah.
I think that was a criticism that a lot of people had early on, is that we would get a lot of smaller heists, like Watch Dogs, and we'd be doing jobs for Vlad. It adds more variety to gameplay, but it doesn't fit the character that they're trying to craft. And maybe that's why they're adding more heisters. So I guess we're kind of looping back our conversation. That's why they're adding more heisters. Maybe they're trying to kind of demonstrate how much bigger CrimeNet actually is, and it's more than just the Payday crew out there who's stealing for monetary gain, but there's also a lot of other stuff that they do.
Payday spin-off.
I want an assassination heist. That's just me, though. I mean, we have the commissar, but that's not really assassination.
That's a boss fight.
Assassination, in my mind, implies that there's some form of subtlety involved, and there was no amount of subtlety in the Hotline Miami heist.
I feel like assassination implies they don't know it's coming, but he obviously knew it was coming.
That was why he was in the vault.
Yeah.
And going...
With, like, obviously 4,000 health. You know, Commissar is a dozer, obviously.
Wearing a suit.
You know, that white suit had Kevlar knit right into it.
Kevlar?
He also had Kevlar knit right
suit.
into his face as well, I suppose.
It was like a titanium suit. No way, that was Kevlar.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's okay. It's gonna
I really hope it's not a generic. I really hope it's not going to be set
yeah.
in another generic warehouse. That would be quite disappointing as well.
Watch as they copy and paste the Shadow Raid map.
And then change like,
I imagine there's going to be a lot of assets reused, just because...
Well, there always is.
Creation perspective, you have to.
Like, yeah. Anyway, that is going to be released on January the 22nd.
It's also going to be the first heist not made by Overkill themselves, is that right?
Yep. Although,
yeah.
Apparently there's an old Overkill level designer. There,
yeah, that was a rumor that I was reading up about, is that, you know, the Lion company that's making this heist is apparently Ilya Petrusik. I'm pretty sure I just butchered that name, but apparently he's an old Overkill level design veteran.
And he's also the sniper, isn't he?
I guess they based the sniper's name off of that. Yeah, Ilya.
Yeah, so it comes out the 22nd. And...
Are you guys actually looking forward to it, though? I mean...
depends if it's paid or free, and how good the value is, and how good the actual map design is, and... Just
the concept. If, based on what
we
the
don't know
rumors
anything.
have said are true, I mean, if we're just stealing something, is it going to be interesting at all?
If it's a cool map,
just
I really have an issue with it, but,
Well, are you expecting it to be a stealth heist? Or a loud heist? I'm assuming you can do it both ways, but just like Shadow Raid, I didn't find that setting to be very interesting. It's just a generic warehouse where we're picking up stuff. It doesn't have much character to it.
Yeah, perhaps some kind of like R&D wing of some government thing.
Just a new setting would be nice. I'd appreciate it.
Like breaking into labs and getting all the scientists down and all that kind of stuff.
You think it would be like a science facility sort of thing? Like an aircraft hangar? That's what I'm seeing in my mind.
A flying aircraft hangar. Hangar? What the... Oh, God.
No, well, like an aircraft hangar.
Yeah.
A lot of movies use aircraft hangars as some sort of research facility set.
That's true.
Well, no, like actual labs with
like clean labs.
Yeah.
If it's a place where they're making bombs, I for some reason I picture just a very dirty area, despite how bad that would be.
Well, they're trying to build it in a clean spot so no dirt gets in it, so it doesn't explode.
Yeah. You know, like, I really can't say much about the creation of bombs.
Yeah, hopefully none of us can say anything about that.
Yes, well, from what I understand, they're quite a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
But okay, we shall move on from the bomb. I guess if you guys don't have anything else to speak about, why don't we talk about the next topic?
Nothing yet.
What is that?
It's Hotline Miami 2. There's going to be a tie-in with Payday 2, and it'll net you free access to the Jacket character pack. Now, Jacket is a character out of Hotline Miami. It's not actually his name, but...
Well, actually, that's an interesting little factoid, is that he didn't really have a name at first, but everyone just called him Jacket, and that's what the developer went
And then
with.
Helmet got called Helmet, and...
I don't think he's actually called Helmet, he's called Biker.
Well, that's what the mask is called, actually, yeah, so yeah.
But he is called Biker.
Like, I guess one he was called Helmet, but,
Well, this is one of the interesting ones. Not to get off the topic of the names, is that there's a tie-in with Hotline Miami 2, whose developer is also Swedish. But this little picture that came out, it was a leak, and I don't really recall any other leaks.
Yeah, it was on the Steam page of Hotline Miami 2.
And someone just took a screen cap, which is quite nice.
Yeah, and put it up on Reddit.
Well, that's one of the few updates that I actually saw for the on the Hotline Miami 2 Steam page.
Yeah, they haven't really done anything on there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like just it's coming 2015, and that's about it.
Most places.
But I think Remy said he was most interested in the sociopath perk deck. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm interested in having another one just to mess around with. I mean, if it's a melee deck, I'm gonna have a lot of fun running my ICTV Hitman melee-only build. But
well, speaking of melee, and you being our resident stats sort of person, I mean, if the sociopath perk deck was actually a melee-focused perk deck, what would that actually bring to the game? From what I gather, I mean, melee is not really that effective as it is now.
No, I feel like it'd be just gimmicky. I mean, the only thing that would really help in terms of melee right now is more knockback, more knockdown. But if you have to sacrifice the armor or the rogue deck just to get more knockdown, it's not going to be worth it.
Exactly. You never really want to get close to anyone in the game.
Well, yeah,
that's why we have guns.
Yeah. So I feel like it'd just be gimmicky to a point. Like, I don't think it'd be Death Wish viable if it was a melee only deck. Like, and if you do take it on Death Wish or even Overkill, you're sacrificing armor and rogue, which are integral parts of both Tech Forcer and any fugitive based build. So any dodge build, really. I know some people who run it on Tech Forcer as well, but
yeah, just the mechanics as they are now. I mean, they don't really cater to anyone running a melee build. In fact, just the concept of balancing all the weapons and things that they have in the game right now, I mean, there's really not too much semblance or cohesiveness to it. They're just like throwing out numbers.
What is the concept of a melee build? It's just kind of a little bit laughable, to be honest. Like, they don't do...
It just doesn't make much sense in the context of the game. Like, we're bank robbers for the most part. I don't really think we'd be running in just like killing people with our hands.
Yeah, we don't like run in bash people. Definitely not.
Yeah.
But then again, what else could the perk deck be? I mean, if it's just a reference, it's a throwaway deck.
Sociopath.
Maybe they could.
I feel like it'll end up being the next Hitman. Completely non-viable, basically in any normal play, but a very fun, gimmicky deck.
I use Hitman for stealth because I don't have the right DLCs to do stealth primaries.
Honestly, I think you just put points into it by accident and you just decide to run with it.
I go with it for stealth because I can't get like an assault rifle down to 3.
And you don't go burglar for stealth? Why?
Because I
don't.
don't.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That explains it.
Okay. I suppose we can say one thing for it, though, is that the fact that there even is a sociopath perk deck being advertised, and based on this being true, I mean, Overkill's gotta have something up their sleeve.
Yeah.
They gotta fill up that many slots to progress up to even justify putting it in. Because if it really is that useless, why put it in the first place, I guess?
Well, they seem to have a little bit of an addiction to that, given the whole characters thing we went over.
Mm-hmm.
Putting it in just for the sake of putting it in
is something that we want to say has a tangible benefit in game. Like, at least for the Hitman deck, you can potentially get akimbo much more early on than with investing into the fugitive.
Yeah, but at that point it's useless because you don't have the you don't have the dodge perks to actually use akimbo properly. Because in order to use akimbo properly, I mean in a dodge build, which is why you'd go Hitman at all, you would need to go up Sneaky Bastard and Low Blow. And if you're going up to Sneaky Bastard anyways, you're going to have access to akimbo. So there's really no point in using it.
I wonder if they're ever going to do like an overhaul of the perk deck system. I mean, that in itself was an overhaul of the tier bonuses that we originally had. In this, it like merged into the skill trees. I mean, in my opinion, I feel like a lot of the perk decks are almost redundant. Like more often than not, I just forget to switch it before I play.
They need to put that in the loadout screen. Why have they not done that yet? Because it really sucks when I'm like going into a heist and I'm like, oh well, I don't have double pistols and we're doing stealth.
But again, like if we ignore the Hitman perk deck, the fact that I forgot and can still get through a heist just fine, I mean, it really goes to show that do the perk decks really do that much for us? Remy, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, not really.
Do you agree with my interpretation?
You're gonna have to repeat the interpretation. Sorry, I was distracted a little bit.
That's understandable. I was just saying the fact that I forget to switch to a particular perk deck before doing the heist, but the fact that you can get through a heist just fine with the wrong perk deck really goes to show that they're almost useless in one sense.
Well, to be fair, it depends on difficulty. A lot depends on difficulty.
Well, does it help in Death Wish?
Yes. Having the right perk deck is almost essential in Death Wish for your build. Like if I accidentally forget, if I'm running a Tech Forcer build simply based around armor and I forget to unequip my rogue deck, I mean, yeah, I have a little bit of extra dodge, but that's nearly completely negated by my ICTV, and I just don't have any armor. So same goes for running a dodge build and forgetting to unequip your armorer. Like, it's not really going to do you much good. And in overkill, it doesn't really matter because it's overkill. So you could pretty much run like a Nerf gun and like a bathing suit in overkill and win. But in Death Wish, it's an entirely different beast. So I wouldn't agree.
So, well,
that was a good argument.
So yeah, if you get the digital special edition, you get the jacket character pack, which is what actually includes the Sociopath perk deck. I don't know how much that's going to cost, because the base game shall be 15. I don't know how much the digital special will cost.
I think it's like $20, is it not, or $15?
The base game's 15, I believe.
Then I imagine the digital edition, or digital deluxe edition, excuse me, would probably be around 20 or 25.
Well, if it has the soundtrack in it, it'd be worth it.
True enough, but even in the first game, they had all the tracks just sitting there in your folder.
Yeah, that was cool.
Waiting for you to listen to them.
I will probably buy the soundtrack of the first game for obvious reasons.
Actually, one thing we haven't noticed, I mean, they didn't explicitly state whether Jacket would actually be a playable character. They did sort of follow the existing naming convention of, character name.
Well, it says character items, so like...
Well, I mean, the actual screenshot says Jacket character pack, and it has a picture of him standing right there.
Ooh, that's usually how they introduce playable characters, right? John Wick character pack, Clover character pack,
Dragan character pack.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't explicitly state it, but I mean, it would be very interesting if they decided to do that all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually get quite a few masks with it as well. Like, if you have just the base game, you get Richter, Alex, Jake, Corey, Biker, and Tony's Revenge, which is Tony with like blood all over him.
So yeah, it looks like a goose or duck mask, rat mask, snake mask, motorcycle helmet, a zebra, and a bloody tiger. All a reference to the original game.
And then you get Richard Returns, which is a different version of Richard from the first game. You get Jackets Mark 10, which is a bit strange. Like, Uzis aren't really that great of a weapon.
Well,
and a hammer.
From what I could see on the picture, it has some tape on the grip, so that must push the damage up quite a bit.
I don't know what's up with it being a hammer, though. I think it should be something like a katana or a crowbar.
I think that actually might just be a reference to a drive, which which Hotline Miami was based pretty heavily upon. In Drive, the main character, the Ryan Gosling character, uses a hammer to to do some wonderful stuff, basically. Won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it yet.
Like me, I haven't. Yeah.
And me.
Well, you should watch it. If you liked Hotline Miami at all, I think you'd appreciate that movie. You can essentially just imagine that is Hotline Miami, except not quite as exciting. But if you can actually play his jacket, that'd be interesting, because I just can't wait to hear his pager lines.
Yeah,
nothing.
He doesn't have a suit. Yeah, it's nothing. He doesn't speak. He doesn't have a suit. That kind of bothers me. Like, I feel like all of them have to have a suit.
I think the varsity jacket's quite nice.
Yeah.
At the very least, it's iconic. I can give it that.
Not as classy.
I don't think he'll be a character because they'd have to show his face.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, you could kind of peer at his face. He has blonde hair in the first game, and because the game was based on Drive, I'd assume he kind of looks like Ryan Gosling.
And also, what would he say for his page lines? Just like open his mouth and like.
I don't think he would say anything. He would just give him that constant dead-eyed look that he usually does.
Or he would just
through the pager system.
No, he would say like 10 minutes? No, 10 seconds of the of like a random song from a soundtrack. It just goes.
He would just be a multiplayer troll.
It just goes do. I'll just have to look into that. But yeah,
well, joking aside, they can't
do much with him.
I agree. They probably would not
as a character.
Although a lot of people did complain that he didn't show up in the Hotline Miami Heist DLC. They're like, "Where was Jacket?"
What they should have done is like perhaps made like an Easter egg with like a jacket mask lying there or something. I don't know.
I don't know if that'd be enough. I mean, the fact that there's even gangsters there kind of
mafia.
just says that he hasn't been there at all.
True.
That was kind of disappointing. But he did show up in the trailer. But then again, we've got a lot of trailers from over to deliver, I suppose.
Yeah, there's like the
one where Walt's torturing the Russian dude.
I haven't seen it. The actual poster for the Hotline Miami DLC was actually really neat. It was like Payday 2 spelt TWO, and it had like Dallas and Jacket.
No, it was actually, I think it was just Dallas and Houston, but they were wearing Hotline Miami masks, and it was just not a parody, but just an homage to the Hotline Miami poster, which is also quite gruesome. But yes, there's also, in addition to the masks, there's also, Jacket's just one weapon, two weapons, one melee weapon, one submachine gun, and apparently you can just get it with the digital special edition, and that's it.
And who knows how much that's going to cost? Probably $25 or something.
There's got to be more to that special edition than just the Payday 2 tie-in stuff. I'm not exactly sure what else they could give you just for Hotline Miami 2.
Alright, yeah. Also, it's not going to be available in Australia. God.
Yes, then there's one determining factor that stopped it from going to Australia, because that's one line you guys won't cross.
We may be talking about this.
Fiction. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yes, Hotline Miami 2 tie-in, that's pretty neat. I like how these Swedish developers seem to cooperate with each other. So.
And seeing as it was a game that I was going to buy anyway,
Yeah,
and if the digital special edition included the soundtrack, I'd be buying that. Because from what I've heard of like a unofficial soundtrack that's got some guesswork involved in it, it's quite good.
Actually, despite what a blow this would be to Simon Viklund, maybe like another tie-in with Hotline Miami 2 is that you could play some of the music in Payday 2. That'd be pretty neat. Because a lot of the music, there have been quite a few mods that have modded the Hotline Miami 1 tracks into Payday 2.
That'd be cool.
And they actually fit really, really well.
Right, well, yeah. I don't know, like the way they're played in Hotline Miami is definitely different to Payday 2. In that they sort of loop. Whereas Payday 2 has the...
Yes, quiet parts. But for some of the tracks, they fit very well.
Yeah.
I mean, they were able to get a quiet sequence out of it and do just a fine job. But yes, anything else to chime in about the Hotline Miami 2 tie-in stuff? I mean, the perk deck seems to be the most...
Well, we don't know anything about it. And
the most important thing to touch on.
We don't really have a release date for Hotline Miami 2, so...
Yeah, they're keeping
Q1.
very low on that. But the thing is, the fact that it was rated and restricted in Australia kind of implies that it might be coming out sometime soon, I want to say.
Well...
I mean, they've gotten to take a look at it, at least the beginning sequence. I'm sure they had to go throughout the entire game. You don't want to, like,
I'm hoping
save that.
I'm hoping that's the only thing that they found that was offensive, so that they could just change that. And as long as it's compatible with the rest of the World's Workshop levels, I don't really care. I can do with that pixelated rape. I don't really.
It'd be great if there was an even worse scene at the very end of the game, and they're like, "Well, we're not going to play the rest of it."
And you play as Tony Abbott throughout the whole thing.
Yeah,
he takes his mask off and it's Tony Abbott. He takes his mask off and it's Tony Abbott. That would actually be amazing. Because I think South Park did that. Like, they had a picture of a crying koala during all the censored scenes, and they described exactly what happened.
Parts. Yes, and somehow it ended up being more gruesome and disgusting than just showing it.
Because they.
But moving on from anal probing
to another R-rated game. Well, actually, 2 R-rated games. 2 R-rated games mixed together. Yeah, actually, no. This is actually Payday related. I have worked out why it's one of the reasons it's rated R in Australia. Because I was
Payday 2 talking about.
Yeah, I was going back, like, through the Left 4 Dead 2 and why that was all absolutely, like, the bodies would vanish before they hit the ground in the old Australian version. But it was actually because authority figures were being killed. Like, you were killing cops.
Oh.
So I'm thinking that's one of the reasons it was rated R. Like, why Payday was rated R is because you're killing cops.
Well, I mean, the first game you could do that as well, at one point of the game.
Yeah, true.
Well,
everyone
at
felt that.
2 points of the game, there's even one level centered around that, actually.
Damn.
Yes. Yes, it's hard to tell
that
you only have the bird's eye view, I guess. But anyways,
yeah,
I suppose we can move on from this character and mask pack onto the mods that we spoke about before. One of the big things going around the subreddit is that Payday 2 Blood Dragon mod. And there's been that teaser website that had a countdown. It seems to have gone up.
I was up till midnight Friday night. I was just like, it's almost midnight, I'll wait like 3 minutes. And it hit 0 and then began counting up again. I went, screw it.
That was quite disappointing.
Yeah, it just started counting up again. It was sort of annoying.
You know, you would think that countdown would really make people work harder to make the deadline.
Well, yeah, it
kidding.
It got delayed to
Those
Saturday.
Guys do a lot of hard.
Yeah, hopefully it's awesome.
But yes, this is.
It got delayed to Saturday and then to Monday, Tuesday. So who knows?
Well, they don't. Did they even come out and say why it was delayed or when it's
probably?
Actually gonna come?
I think it was.
You're just guessing.
Stability. I don't know. It was like actually making it work, and then people saying, "Great job, don't be Ubisoft" and all that.
Well, I mean, it's not like they have anything to gain from this. I mean, if you release a really shitty mod, that's not going to come off good on anyone because you're not even getting any money out of this. But anyways, this is a collaboration project between Bodhi's Sound Repair and Last Bullet Gaming. So that's quite interesting, and I thought we might just be able to speculate on what might, what might be released with this Blood Dragon mod. I mean, did you guys play Far Cry Blood Dragon?
No. And
you didn't?
No,
really? What about did he? Is he even alive? I'm wondering.
No. He says food going to disappear for a few minutes. I was hoping to not bring attention to it, and I thought you knew, but apparently not. Yeah.
I guess I'm just too into this. But since you didn't play Blood Dragon, maybe I could just go over what it was all about. But
I've
basically,
played the
it was
game,
just
the
vanilla game
is a lot different.
Provide justice to what Blood Dragon is. It's just basically it's just a standalone total conversion mod
DLC.
I would say for Far Cry 3. I don't really even want to call it a DLC. It's not an expansion. It's
well,
like
it's
a standard.
it's its own game, but a mod would imply it was free and made by fans and stuff. It was actually made by Ubisoft.
But yes, it was one of the high points of Ubisoft's long, illustrious line of games. Like it was something just out of the blue. Everyone thought it was an April Fool's joke, but it actually came out and it was very, very funny. I mean, it's essentially a self-aware parody of 80s action movies. It even stars Michael Biehn. He starred in Aliens and obviously the Terminator series. He was one of those guys who was just a big part of the 80s action movie era. So there's, cheesy quips, a lot of over-the-top action, like silly kills, and a lot of brightly colored neon lights.
Hooray. Yeah.
And if people don't already know, Bodhi's Sound Repair, as we mentioned before, it's been a very long-running sound replacement mod for Payday 2. They just aimed to mainly replace gunfire sounds, and then they also said they were planning on replacing ambient sound effects as well as possibly the music. So essentially they're just going for a comprehensive sound mod. So with that being said, I guess that implies that what could come with the Blood Dragon mod is possibly new sound effects to accompany maybe some model replacements from Last Bullet Gaming. But honestly, being the only one here who played Blood Dragon, there wasn't really anything that interesting in Blood Dragon. I mean, there was the staple pistol, minigun and stuff. They just looked futuristic. Yeah. They were mostly just reskins or remodels of standard Far Cry 3 weapons. Yeah, I mean, they didn't even really bother changing the model of the Jeep that you would drive around in the game. It was essentially exactly the same. It was exactly the same, but like purple.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what they would introduce with Blood Dragon. I suspect weapon replacements, but that's not really an easy job. As far as I know, I haven't really seen any real weapon replacements more complex than a melee weapon replacement.
Yep.
Obviously, Bodhi's Sound Repair was saying that they were going to do possibly music replacements, and that since there have already been soundtrack replacements, that is Blood Dragon theme into Payday 2 mods, that possibly they might consider translating most of the content over to Payday 2.
Yeah, but you were saying on the teaser website they were using a song from Perturbator. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know.
Well, I think it's a play on Masturbator. So just Perturbator. You perturb yourself.
Yeah, but
yeah, it's not even a track from the game, although it does have a very similar tune. I mean, that artist was originally featured in Hotline Miami quite prominently, and obviously there's a very 80s theme going on with that game, as there is in Blood Dragon. So maybe they're just putting in very reminiscent reminiscent music into Payday 2.
And that's why I'm hyped for it.
Yeah, it could be interesting. This is also something a lot like Blood Dragon that's out of the blue. Like, I don't know what the point of it is, but it doesn't mean it can't be good.
What do you think, Remy? Okay.
Boy, I thought we weren't going to point fingers towards who might not be here.
Well, he's back, but apparently not.
That was a very good point, Remy. Thank you for that. And lastly, I think they were also, this is complete speculation on my part. Maybe they might add in a graphics filter as well.
That would be nice, like sort of cel-shaded
everything
or fluoro.
Well, it's not really cel-shaded. The game's not cel-shaded.
Well, yeah,
everything's very purpley and neon-y.
Neon, yes, that's the word.
And I'm sure a filter could do a very good job of making the game look really awful and hard to see. But yes, you said you were hyped for this, right? Is it what's getting you hyped up about it?
The music.
Mainly the music.
Yep.
I've actually been playing a lot around with the music mods that people have been releasing. It's very, very nice to hear new tracks in the game.
Oh god, my mic was muted. God.
Right. That would explain it, yeah.
So you
explains a lot.
Despite what you said, your point was very good.
I have an opinion, I swear.
Okay, what was your opinion?
My opinion is that I could care less about cosmetics because it has no effect on gameplay. So new music.
What about the music, Remy? Yes.
Okay, yeah, new music would be cool, but other than that, I could really care less about any graphical stuff they do or placements.
Well, it's the problem with the mod packs is that no one else can see it, so you can't tell anybody else how awesome your gun is, even if it is neon colored.
Exactly.
And I understand this might be a lot of work, but if they introduced Sergeant Rex
Ooh, hang on, guys.
into the game with Michael Bean's voiceovers, it'd be quite funny. Yes.
Yes, we're having a bit of audio issues, I think.
I swear to God, if you said you never pressed that record button.
Nah, it's recording. Yeah. It's good. It's recording.
The sound that you just heard is my silent contempt for you.
At least I'm pretty sure it's recording.
It's okay. I have it recorded, and your mic has been okay so far.
Yeah, you were going really robot-y. Just going...
Oh, he was fine.
Well, I was just trying my teeth.
And then you went all tinny just then.
But yes, I agree with Remy. Unfortunately, a lot of the mods, nobody else can see it, so they're mostly just useless. They're for your own benefit. But the music, yeah, I think that's the only thing I'd really be looking forward to as well. But to be honest with you, the mod that's already out with the Blood Dragon theme, replacing one of the music tracks in Payday 2, I think that's already sufficient for me. But then again,
all I found for music mods is I found hydrogen put into the game.
Yeah, Hotline Miami tracks. But with the Blood Dragon soundtrack, I think, in my opinion, the only good tracks really were the theme and the reprise version of the theme. I mean, all the other tracks were very, I guess they'd be considered ambient music. They're really not tracks. They have some sort of melody in them, but they're really not the main track you'd want to listen to. And that's probably why they used one of the Perturbator tracks in the teaser website. That I guess they're planning on just adding in songs of that theme. So I'm just reiterating my point. You got me lost, Lockie. See what you did?
Great.
Yes, but if there's nothing more to add to that,
yeah, not that much.
I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not really that excited. I feel like the teaser websites are really just wholly unnecessary.
It doesn't really need it, does it? So, Payday the Heist Harder. We did touch on this last episode, which was 2 weeks ago. A bit more, yeah.
Did we actually cover that in the main podcast? Or
Pretty sure, because you installed it before the show, and you were saying how good it was.
It was really good, because it's almost like a dead-on reiteration of the Payday the Heist HUD. And I mean, did you try it out yet?
No, I'm not actually sure what this is. Kind of excited.
It's the Payday the Heist HUD.
In Payday 2. Yeah, I can guess, but I haven't tried it yet.
Well, I had wished for something like this since the very beginning of, the very release of Payday 2, because not to say that I was the biggest Payday the Heist fan, I kind of felt like I wanted to stealth most missions, but on one hand, they did really get the heads-up display right in the first game, which really surprised me when I went into Payday 2 and found that everything felt very consoleized. And again, this is probably a point that I covered the last time, but for such little information, I mean, they spread it out over the whole screen, and it covers a lot of screen real estate, whereas in the first game, everything was just kind of condensed in that little corner. It made the most use of our high-resolution monitors. You could tell who was speaking, you could tell where they were in the first game, you could tell who was playing as what character, whereas in Payday 2, it's kind of hard to know what character you're even playing as until you call out for someone or try to ascertain what sleeve is, holding the gun in your face right now.
This is why we have other HUDs.
That is right. But
Hawks or Poco,
that being said, Poco HUD and Hawks HUD, they add in extraneous information. Not to say that the information that they add is unnecessary, but they add in more information, whereas the Payday the Heist HUD basically revamps what we have there already and makes it a lot better. It just brings you back to the first game. And it looks great. It's almost indistinguishable from the first game,
actually. It's nicely compact. And also, if you guys are having issues with it, you have to install the mod. The mod font. Bleh.
The font mod.
The font.
Yes, you
Font
you
mod,
made that
yeah.
critical mistake, as did a bunch of other people.
It looked very strange. Like the bottom third of each word was cut off.
Yeah, it was cut off because the Payday the 2, Payday the 2, Payday 2's font is actually a lot bigger, which is also kind of one of my pet peeves. In Payday 1, they had a very nice, small, white font with a black outline, whereas the second one, it does kind of blend into the background sometimes, as do the icons. And speaking of icons, even the Payday the Heist HUD icons, like the escape zone icon, or
Yeah,
the thermal drill you're supposed to pick up icon, the briefcase icon, all of that's yellow again, like in Payday the Heist. And it does have a nice little bevel to it, so it doesn't blend into the to bright surroundings quite as awfully. But yeah, I can't recommend this mod more. I mean, if I only had the choice of one mod, I think I'd actually pick this one.
I might have to give that a try. I mean, having a third HUD, I don't know. I like Hawk's HUD specifically for its build profiler, and then I like Poco HUD for all the little floating, I guess they're just time notifiers.
Yeah, tooltips, I guess you'd call them.
Yeah, floating tooltips and some other things. And Hawk's HUD's little tap to hold.
Well, I think one of the big reservations of people who want to use the Payday the Heist HUD is that it doesn't actually work with Hawk's HUD, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yeah, it
Screw
crashes
that.
a lot.
Well, I wasn't even able to get it to launch, actually, but I actually appreciate playing the game without Hawk's HUD. I don't use the skill profiler much, admittedly, and I actually appreciate that it doesn't tell me how many bags of loot are on the map, as well as how many guards are on the map. I always found that was a little cheap. Yes, I know you can turn that off, but I just am very appreciative of the screen real estate that I've gained back.
Well, to each their own. I prefer Hawk's HUD to... All the information is good.
Yeah, I don't really like having go over to the drill and...
Well, like I said, it was a big reservation of mine, but I thought the trade-off after I got used to playing with the Payday the Heist HUD, I actually don't mind not having Hawk's HUD.
So how's that holding F for your pagers working out for you?
I have not dropped it. In fact, that F key is probably going to break given how hard I press it.
And that is why I use Hawk's HUD.
Well, the thing is, I'm pretty sure that can be implemented just in a separate script. Like, you can just pull...
Oh yeah. No, it's not a hard script.
It's in GoonMod.
Yeah, it's in Poco. It's in Poco HUD. It's in GoonMod. It's just a separate script. Yeah, but fact remains, Payday HUD doesn't have it. So I mean, I suppose you could run Poco HUD alongside the Payday the Heist HUD.
Yeah, you can.
And use it there, but
some of the things don't work, like the radar indicators where you can like see what direction your friend's in, because all of your avatars are crunched into the left side instead of spread out beneath the bottom. Like, it won't work properly, but all the other features, like the floating tooltips, they all work just fine. And with that combination, I'm having a lot of fun with the game. It's given another challenge that I think Hawk's HUD kind of removes sometimes.
Alright, are we ready to talk about GoonMod?
Ooh, controversy, my favorite.
Yes, and we leave that to the very last when no one's listening.
Yeah, everyone's probably either quit in the first 5 minutes or just doing something else.
Well, you gotta have patience to listen to these.
And that's why we leave the controversy for last.
Well, okay, out of the three of us, who's using it?
I've used it before, but not now.
I'm contemplating using it, if only just for the weapon customizer, for lulz.
Yeah, and that's simply just an aesthetic thing, which is really neat. But I think the point of controversy for GoonMod, other than what it usually does, and originally it was just a mod to increase the number of corpses on the ground, but there's been a lot of feature creeping in this mod, and I can see this guy having a lot of talent. I mean, he's done a lot of, I'd like to say, unbelievable things. As you mentioned before, there's the weapon customization mod with the different sorts of paints and colors that you can put onto any weapon in the game. But of course, I think the biggest point of contention, that's a big lead up to this, is essentially the implementation of the gauge coin system, or rather the black market feature they've added in. And you guys know how this works?
Yep. Yeah.
And I guess for the people who don't, essentially the Gauge Courier job DLC that came from Overkill, they've kind of implemented this into the Gauge black market system where you just collect enough packages to complete one of the specific courier jobs, and you get a single Gauge coin for every job you complete. And for every coin, you can buy something from the black market section. But then again, not every item on the black market section costs the same amount. I mean, you can even buy infamous items on the black market screen, but those cost up to, if not more than 20 Gauge coins. So that's a lot of running around the map that you have to do. Do you guys think this is fair?
Usually it's a lot of running around the map that I'll do anyways in the stealth heist. Like, I go collect them anyways.
Well, it's just cosmetic, isn't it? So, like...
Well, I mean, for some reason, people have got it into their head that getting an infamous mask is something that you've earned. But in a sense,
it's just a drop.
Gauge,
it's RNG.
Yeah, it's a random drop. I mean, in a sense, you've kind of earned it by gaining enough Gauge coins. But I suppose, on the other hand, maybe some people might justify it by saying, hey, I've earned every other mask in the game and every other item. Technically, I have been working my way towards getting this infamous mask by increasing its drop chance because given the arbitrary rules that Overkill's implemented, if I have enough of every other mask, the mask that I don't have will have a higher chance of dropping. So technically I have earned it. But really, to be completely honest, it's random. If anything, it's much better for the player, I would want to say, by collecting this using the system and buying the mask yourself. But that's just me.
Agreed. I mean, I don't use it myself. I just kind of, I like the feeling of, I've been looking for this one mod or this one mask, and then suddenly it drops, and you get that feeling of, yes, finally. But, and also as a V100, I have pretty much everything at this point. So it's not as big a deal for me. But to people that are still trying to make their sets, for example, some guys that I know that I play with are lower level and they're still trying to try out new builds, but they don't have the mods to actually try them out properly. And they all use GoonMod.
Oh no.
Which is fine. Because I hate RNG. RNG is not kind.
I just think that RNG needs to just leave the game, unless it's just randomizing heists. If it's for the reward that you get, it's just not fair. Because everyone can get a different reward at the end of the heist.
Wasn't that like everyone's complaints about that game, Destiny? That the RNG was like the loot drops were way too bad.
Well, I haven't played it, but if everyone completes the same job and they all get like a different reward of different rarity or value,
that's what they have.
Then I don't think that's fair. That's pretty awful in my opinion. There's no game mechanic that should depend on RNG, and that can be said for a lot of aspects to Payday 2. But at the very least, for the actual Payday card system, I think they really need to walk away from the RNG system, and they sort of have acknowledged that with all the DLC that they've been putting out, because all of the DLC items that you usually get now are dependent on achievements, and that's still more fair than the RNG system.
Agreed. I mean, it actually allows you to have some type of control over when you obtain them. I mean, which, it's better than just praying that it drops.
I think it can be boiled down to this. A lot of people at the very beginning of the game, they want to play a heist stealthily, and they didn't have a suppressor drop for them for ages, and because of that, they can't partake in any of those types of heists unless you play it a very specific way. And that can go for many different things, especially not just weapon mods, but I mean for masks as well. Like, I just want this specific mask, I want this specific pattern with this specific color. Why do I have to jump through all these hoops to try to get it? But even then, I may not get it because it's all dependent on a random number generator.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not even you jumping hoops. It's just, it's completely out of your control. Mm-hmm. It's just waiting.
And
I just don't understand why people are so peeved about other people using it, I guess.
It's not like they're just pressing a button
something
and
you've
getting
earned.
It doesn't affect your gameplay, so you should not have the right to be salty about it. That's the bottom line.
It's essentially a quote from Overkill, I suppose.
Well, yeah, with hacks, that can ruin your gameplay experience. It probably
Another thing that GoonMod did introduce was actually the trading system. So they did what Overkill didn't, or possibly couldn't, I suppose. They introduced a trading system for anyone else who's using the GoonMod.
Which is also kind of stupid in and of itself, because if you have the gauge going black market, there's really no need to trade it with your trade stuff with your friends, because you can buy that anyways. So.
I suppose it's just a proof of test, but it seems like it's really neat. You can have one or the other. I mean, hopefully Overkill adds it in themselves, but at this point with GoonMod, it seems almost redundant for Overkill to try to do everything that the mod community is doing.
They may as well just sanction GoonMod like they did Hawkshut, if they were going to do that, I mean.
Because I find the interesting thing with Overkill and their relationship with the creators of Hawkshut is that they actually did have some conditions for the Hawkshut team. Specifically, they asked them to remove the feature where you can skip through the payout screen. You know how it's counting up your money and everything. They asked the Hawkshut creators to remove that. So perhaps if the GoonMod guy did get in contact with, why?
Yeah, why?
I guess it's just unfair for some people.
I feel like it's kind of a part of the game. I mean,
yeah, want to see how much money you got.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not that big of a bother.
But like, when you're at like level 10 and you do like a Death Wish job and it just keeps going forever.
Well, I mean, that's only if it's the host. Then it gets annoying. If you're the host, you can just exit it.
Yeah, if your level counter has stopped, if you're the host, you can just go ahead. But I don't know why exactly they did it. It sort of makes sense because I kind of do like seeing, that little circle tick away. But that being said, if GoonMod did somehow get some sort of official sanction with Overkill, I'd assume that they would possibly get rid of the black market system and they would just try to officially implement the trading system, which works really well.
Yeah.
I think that's a very fair system because not only does it emphasize the co-op aspect of the game, but that's also very fair. Like, your friend would get a drop that you wanted, and you can just contact your friend to get it, especially if they had duplicates.
True. I mean, I like the black market. It's for what it is, for what it does. Certain people, it's okay.
Plus, it's got the train heist whole thing. Which,
yeah, that's another thing.
Because
the separate train
the transports are like, don't pick it up, you'll get kicked.
Train heist.
I hate spamming transports for train heist, so that's kind of a godsend.
Yes, I don't recall a time my heart's beaten harder than almost accidentally picking up the train heist's blueprints. Because they added that 0.5 second interaction circle, and I'm like, oh my god, those are the plans. I let go at the very last millisecond. And that's how exciting the games got for me. But yes, the train heist, in my opinion, it's an enjoyable heist. Sometimes it can be very, very difficult, but honestly, I don't understand why they specifically linked it to armored transport. I mean, once you've earned it,
hey, a bit of lag.
You should be able to play it whenever you want. Have their own.
Well, I mean,
have their own sort of interpretation of it. They say every time you get the blueprints, you get one train heist token to play the heist, and when you play the heist, the token goes away. So you can only play it a limited amount of times.
Well, yeah, I see it from a different point of view. I mean, I feel like the lore or reason for it is that you pick up the blueprints after raiding this transport, and then it says, like, at a specific time, like in the next couple of days, this train is going to be transporting whatever there, and then you have only until then to hit it, and then it's gone. So from that standpoint, it makes sense. But from a gameplay standpoint, it's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and I don't really think Overkill has a great focus on canon development, I suppose you would say. So
no,
I really
we
don't.
have John Wick.
Yeah, that
Guys.
I really hope that they introduce that function into the vanilla game. And it sounds like Lockie's having some trouble.
Yeah,
How's it going, Lockie?
well, yeah, the connection's just... It's not going good. I think it would be a good idea to try and finish up. Because if this gets any worse, it will become...
I think it would be too.
You know, it's wonderful that your mic lasted this long already.
I know, it's really
just
surprising.
So you know, I do have the backup of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
You're both robots. It's
well, essentially, our final verdict on GoonMod is essentially it's a great mod, and I would recommend it to anyone who's playing the game. I think it actually improves the gameplay. It reduces the frustration factor, and isn't that what it's all about? It's about making the game as fun as possible.
And mutators as well.
Yeah, it's got mutators.
And mutators.
Yeah, those are pretty fun. Although they seem really back-ass words sometimes, since you can make the game a lot easier than usual. But then again, it's another way to play the game, which I can definitely appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
But yes, maybe we should thank everyone for listening. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Yeah. Hey.
Thanks for getting to this point in the podcast, as usual.
Everyone, sorry about the audio, all that. Yes.
Yeah. Brown.
But I suppose we should say goodbye now. And
Yeah.
maybe we'll tune in next time.
Hopefully next week.
Yeah. Hopefully, we shall
We'll try to
see.
be more timely on these. I mean, there's only so much to talk about.
It's all based on overkill.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to the bomb heist. I want to see if all of our speculation panned out.
We shall see. Well, I mean, remember the diamond episode? Yeah. Glasses guy speculation and
Nothing.
Essentially, don't trust anyone with glasses is the point of that story.
Man, I feel hurt. Damn.
I'm sorry.
Wow, right in the feels.
Well, to be fair, I didn't trust you in the first place.
Oh.
Ooh.
I
We're
think
gonna cut this out.
Yeah.
This end has just gone on for too long.